Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with
This is the
Trae.
day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I want to welcome you to a thankful Thursday. And the funny thing is I love it when I get to have guests on Thursdays. When I say thankful Thursdays, that I'm thankful for. The two guests I have today, Mr. Delbert Richardson's in the building, y'all. We're going to be talking all about his museum. Now, this traveling museum, many of you have experienced, but it's also a part of an Intiman production. And so I'm excited because he's going to be giving us some history of that and how it actually plays into this amazing production that Intiman is doing. And y'all, I got Vida Oliphant Sneed in the building, y'all. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful for all of her contributions to community and to the artistic world. I'm going to be talking to her later on about the lion's tail. Like, we're going to be getting all into this, y'all. Y'all, I'm excited, okay? Of course, it's the top of the show, so it's a great time to tag and share this stream right here. Y'all are participating with us. You are getting more people to know about what we're doing here, so thank you so much for tagging and sharing the stream with folks who you feel can benefit from a daily dose of dopeness right here on The Day with Trae. If you can't watch our TV show, we still have you covered because you can listen to us anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network and The Day with Trae. You'll find me on whichever platform is your favorite. Okay, well, I'm excited because up next we got Delbert Richardson in the building. What's up, Unc?
Grand Rising, and I have arrived.
Yeah.
Because if I'm sitting next to you on The Good Day with Trae, thank you. Thank you, ancestors.
You know, this is really special for me because your work has been so impactful in community. And I'm glad to get you in our Black Media Matters studios to talk more about the beginnings. You know, not only do you have amazing historical artifacts, but the beginning of this. Give us a glimpse into that history.
Well, thank you for asking that question, because I get asked quite a bit and often, how did you get started? And a lot of times people don't know the story behind the story. And the story is that in 1973 at University of Washington was transformative for me because I didn't know I could choose how I wanted to be seen. Now, what that looks like is that I didn't know that I could call myself Black and it's a positive connotation. Because being born in 1954, the word Black was not something that was used in the neighborhood because we had been socialized to believe that Black as a word or a term had a negative connotation. In 1954, Brown v. Board of Education, I was born in December, and I think the decision was in November. So I often think about, I'm not that old. Right? However, my parents, I was born in Detroit, but the reality is, if my parents had been in the South, and my dad is from Seguin, Texas, and he grew up under Jim Crow, when I was born, he could not have drunk out of a water fountain unless it said Black. He couldn't have, he could have rode on a bus, but there would have been a specific seat for him. And so my transformation happened at the University of Washington because these students at UW campus were calling themselves Black. And I was tripping, right? And what I had grew into was that they had made a decision on how they wanted to be seen. And Stokely Carmichael had been to Garfield, I think a year or two before, and had rocked Seattle's world. So there's this consciousness shift, my language around identity. On my birth certificate, probably says Negro colored. So the journey of the museum really started in '73 because that's where I was reborn.
Wow. I mean, you talk about identity and the shift of identity. It's interesting because there's so many different conversations around identity now that I couldn't have fathomed as a young person. And the idea that, that could be so profound and spark you to do all of the great work you did. I mean, tell the audience a bit about the Traveling Museum and how you've been able to bring it to so many different communities and different eyes and really shifting people's perception of, what you're sharing with them.
Thank you, niece. And just so you know, she's my village niece. Right? Make it real clear, not blood. But if we knew more about how things were in the 50s and 60s, everybody was an auntie and an uncle, because that's how community rolled, right? And so, my journey started actually in Cannon Beach, Oregon, another phase of my journey, because that's where I was on vacation. I went to an antique store, had a little time to kill. I saw I think it was a Something Boy fruit crate label. Now understand, we've been used as, my language, fodder for white folks for years to sell product, right? So you think about Aunt Jemima syrup, Uncle Ben's rice, and cream of wheat man, right? And so in this antique store, I saw this fruit crate label. And just so you know, we're here in Seattle, Washington, but in Yakima, they pick hecka apples. So it wasn't uncommon for these apples to be picked and put in a crate, and on the side would be an image. Well, I didn't know that this is one of the ways that we were commercialized and capitalized, right? And so I bought it specifically out of curiosity, because the reality is I didn't see myself in any other vein other than cream of wheat, the Aunt Jemima salt and pepper shakers, right? So this was curious to me. And so one thing led to another. I started being more aware, going to antique stores and actually starting to find things, understanding there's a possibility of discovery being here. And before you know it, I became a collector of Black Americana. And I didn't know that people like Whoopi Goldberg, Bill Cosby, and others had these extensive collections of Black Americana, which is images of Black folks in advertising.
This is something to be said, because obviously the proliferation of products over the course of time tells its own narrative too, right? And so when I was able to experience your Traveling Museum, to be honest, I was like, yo, this is telling a narrative. So not only is it this amazing collection, but it is almost as if you were pretty specific about, or intentional maybe, about what you chose to really bring together to tell a story for folks. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, thank you. When you say intentional and all that, I say obedient. Because I didn't know I'd been called until I understood what a calling was. And, I'm not trying to say I'm not religious or whatever. I didn't have that particular upbringing in church. We were made to go to church, like most Black families. So when I had a choice, I didn't go to church. And so when I started understanding what a calling was, then it made sense that what I was doing was God-led. And so in 2005 was the first time I had gotten interviewed by the Seattle Times in a studio called Calm Rain Studio. And what I've come to learn is that the creator was preparing the world for my work. And I say that because in 2005, there wasn't a Black president, wasn't no racial social justice initiative. White supremacy as a term had not been coined. And so my work was, for the most part, being embraced and nurtured by me until the Seattle world was ready. And so now, people are contacting me about work that I was doing in 2005 that I couldn't get people to come experience the work because they obviously weren't ready.
Well, that's exactly right. And I think now the response, I want to talk a bit about that before we get into this amazing production with Intiman, the response to the work. Let's talk a bit about that, because when you talk about being guided, being led, being obedient. There's something to say about how people go through the museum, the ways that you've been able to travel with it, having it in schools, having it in different spaces, where they walk away with this kind of like eye-opened experience. And how does that resonate with you when you realize like how people are receiving this work?
Excellent question. And the best way for me to frame that is I'm a researcher, but I'm also a wounded warrior. I'm a truth teller. And so a lot of people probably, Trae, niece, everybody has their own experience. But if I can just share this, my work is rooted in awareness, curiosity, critical inquiry, and self-discovery. I haven't said the word race at all, right? So it's this whole thing of creating a healthy space to be exposed to information, to say, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. What else don't I know? And so this whole framing of American history through an Afrocentric lens was really about, hopefully, our grandchildren will be in a healthier position, not to say not healthier now, healthier, to understand that everything they would ever want is already inside of them. But we've been socialized, I know I have, that my history starts with slavery, and that's just not true. So that's why I started the museum with Mother Africa, but I call it American history. So I'm really good at spinning and get people to ask questions, because I think that's where the discoveries are, when we're able to actually see, you know what, could you tell me a little bit more? I thought you would never ask.
Yeah, well, that says a lot, because I think that a lot of people are having that kind of collective experience when they go through and see all of the pieces and the story that it tells, because it's striking for them. So I love that there's such a deep personal connection to this work, which I think a lot of folks really walk away with that same understanding, like this is something that's deeply rooted. So I love this idea of self-exploration that led you also down this path in a way that now we have this amazing experience that folks have been able to have. But, you know, tell us about how you partner with Intiman now for this amazing production, and, you know, how, you know, all the work that you've done kind of plays into this amazing production that's coming up.
Well, thank you for that question. And I'm glad I said obedience, because I'm still learning that you say yes, even if you don't want to. And no one asked me if I wanted to be in the play. They said, Miss Vida says, I'm writing a play and you're going to be in it, right? So I had to hold that, even though, you know, as a dark-skinned, my language man, I still struggle with internalized oppression. And so one of the biggest challenges that I'm still learning is that people see things and see me in a way that I'm still growing towards, right? And so to be valued by other people, I'm still learning how to say, when somebody gives me a compliment, I'm still learning how to say thank you. Because if indeed I'm feeling like I have a certain limited amount of value, are you really being honest with me? So I'm still in this evolution phase in terms of embracing myself. So to your question, Miss Vida Sneed said, you know, we didn't get a chance to go to Africa, and we were getting ready to go to Africa before the pandemic hit. And literally 48 hours before we were getting on the plane to go to Europe, Delta shut down their airplanes. So we would have literally been stuck in Paris, in Amsterdam, and for y'all that don't know, them people in Europe won't let nobody come to the airport that looked like me, because they were afraid. Let me say this, not just me, but anybody, there was this cloak of fear around the pandemic. And so we were actually, Vida, myself, my wife, Steve, and some other people were meeting some other community that were already there, and I'd already translated the museum into French. So all those storyboards you've experienced, I have them in storage in French. Why? I was going to re-educate our people in Africa, because the story they've been told is not necessarily true. So we didn't get a chance to go. very traumatic and very emotional. And I wept a lot because I'm always wanting to tell our story. And Vida tells the story well. She got an epiphany that, I'm gonna write, and I'll let her tell you the rest of that story. And before you know it, we had did a reading at Langston, and I'm not an actor. So the reading that I went to, I thought all the readings were that way, and come to find out, this was a unique reading, and Jennifer was there from Intiman, and they were so excited. They said, we want to do this. I said, do what? We want to do this. We want to do this play at Intiman. And let the truth be known, one of the struggles that me and Vida and Steve had, we wanted to do it at Langston. Why? Langston is community. So here again, obedience says that sometimes you say yes, even if you don't want to, because it's not you, it's the creator or God.
There we go. Well, you and I could do a whole special. We might have to get that going one day. I just want to thank you. And of course, if folks are wanting to connect with you, figure out the next time where you have the museum, where they can see this amazing body of work, look right there, let them know how they touch base.
So the best thing to do is call me, 206-604-3932. And my emails, my first name is Delbert.Richardson, DELBERT.Richardson, the number 54@gmail.com. And the reason why I'm saying that, unfortunately, I haven't secured my own building yet, and I will. But in the meantime, there are places that I'm presenting that I can guide you to. But for right now, just call me or text me or email me, and we'll figure out how you can experience the work.
Oh, there it is. Thank you so much for your work. I'm looking forward to seeing you in this production.
Are you coming to the play?
I'm coming to the play.
I'll see you. All right, thank you.
There we go.
All right.
Oh, y'all, we're going to be talking all about this amazing production, and Miss Vida Sneed's written work going to be on the stage. So excited to have her joining me up next. Y'all don't want to miss this. Stay tuned. You're watching A Day with Trae.
Hello, welcome to Elite Insights with Carlos Himani. We're looking to offer an in-depth look at event production industry through the lens of client experiences and joint successes. The podcast will emphasize guest interviews, focusing on client discussing their fields and reflecting on their collaboration with Elite Collective. Again, you're with Elite Insights. Carlos Himani here. See you guys in a few.
Looking for laughs? Looking for love? Fast Talking Figaro has got you covered. Toe-tapping melodies, lively staging, and colorful costumes. Don't miss The Barber of Seville, May 4th through 19th at McCaw Hall. Tickets at seattleopera.org.
All right, y'all, welcome back to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, on this thankful Thursday. So thankful that Miss Vida Sneed is here. Mrs. Sneed in the building. Hi, Vida, how you doing?
How are you? I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me to come.
Yeah, this is really special. The lion tells his tale.
Yes.
You got to tell us about the reason for this. I mean, Delbert was sharing like, hey, you were like, you need to be in this. But also there's something really special about what you experienced there when he was talking about the trip and you having a vision that there's something that can be done in the world of art. So tell us more.
Yes. So first let me say the title of the play, The Lion Tells His Tale, comes from an African proverb that says, until the lion tells his tale, the hunt will always glorify the hunter. So that gives you some context about the why of why we see this being an important thing to do at this time. And yes, it was born out of a trip that did not happen because COVID, right? And as Delbert mentioned, had been preparing for this trip for over a year, wanting so much to be the one time that I was going to have to set my feet on African soil. That failed trip was a period of great grief for me. And so I like to say that out of the ashes of grief came this moment in my life. Steve and I, my husband Steve, were out walking during the pandemic, and the idea of Delbert's Museum being a part of a play had come many years ago when Steve was at the Seattle Center working, and Delbert had come to do Festival Sunjara. And the idea, like, what would it look like if he were to do this as a play and brought audiences to him, as well as he travels now, he goes various places. So that percolated and percolated over the last, was 2017. Wow. And so Steve and I were walking, and you're like, yeah, I mean, what would remember this idea about the museum as a play? And I was like, Steve, I can see it. I can see how it would open. And I start telling him the opening scene, and he was like, yeah, yeah. And so we did. We reached out to Delbert and have started these conversations that really were rich conversations, sharing the possibility and what it would look like, and it has evolved from there.
Wow. I mean, now this is what I love, because I love the innovation of us. Let me just say, right? Because here, out of grief, out of like, oh man, something that was a big blow, then to come out with an artistic work to say, oh my goodness, now we have another way of presenting this work to community, which I think is really what we're born and bred of, right? I think about the history of us doing this exact thing in so many different realms. But what are some of those key notes here that you feel really are kind of those thorough points throughout the story that you really want the audience to pick up on?
And that's a good question, because really giving the museum life and the teaching that Delbert does through his museum, the storytelling that he does through his museum, and the takeaways that I'm going to speak for him, I believe he desires through his work. And that is to highlight the resistance aspect of our people, the resilience of our people, the brilliance of our people, the excellence of our people, the innovations and inventions of our people. And many of those things you got to search for them, right? You have to search for those things. And so consequently, people don't know, our children don't know, and I've learned a lot in this process as well. So if one person walks away saying, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a contribution that Black folks made to this world, then I believe our job is done. And I believe the arts in particular, when you talk about the artistic expression of things, I think the art unlocks the heart in a way differently than just plain, reading in a book or whatever. I think when you go and you experience it and it comes alive and you hear the voice and you hear the songs and you see the dance, whatever part of an artistic expression that you use, I think our hearts are a little more accessible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. I mean, first off, you and your husband, okay, Mr. Steve Sneed and Mrs. Vida Sneed, y'all are the dopest couple to me, like the powerhouse. When it comes to like the community, your love of community. That's why when I talk about a Thankful Thursday, I mean it, because y'all you show up everywhere. Y'all are everywhere. And it's a beautiful thing to see, but also to now be able to experience something that is like your work. And I just want to talk about how that resonates with you to be, someone who has the vision of how to put this together to create a different type of experience for the audience. Yeah. Just how is that resonating with you as now you've partnered with Intiman, they picked it up. I mean, now we're going to be able to experience this thing that was in your head.
Girl, all along this path, I'm thinking, wow. I had to ask myself on the first day of rehearsal, what if someone asked you, was this a dream coming true for you? And actually I would say no, because I never dreamed this. It really just came into my life. It was a deposit into my life. So now it's about how do I steward that deposit, right? And so that's a lot of it for me. At this portion of my life, you may know some part of my story. I have several children, 6 to name, and that has been the focus of my life. And in some senses, putting some things back on the back burner because I believe my children had one mother and I'm going to do the best I can by them, right? And now, having an opportunity to explore some other aspects of myself, this new thing is like, I mean, it really is. It's like that for me. And when I went into it, I thought, this will be fun. I was just doing it to have fun. And then it has birthed itself. And I just consider myself to be just a vessel, if you will. I'm just the vessel. And when I hear, these accomplished actors say the words, I forget I wrote them. I'm serious. I forget I wrote them. And I listen, I'm like, wow. So I'm having a whole lot of wow experiences through this because this is the first time for me of something like this being a part of my life. And as you know, the arts is Steve's world, right? Education is my world. Steve is his world. So seeing our worlds come together and having the opportunity to work together on this piece has been amazing.
Oh my God.
Amazing.
I could only imagine. I mean, you just answered it for me because that's where I was going because of course, when I think about what Delbert said here and Langston, wanting to do it at Langston, there's so much rich history with the name Sneed and Langston. It's just real, right? And I grew up in that Sneed era of Langston, so I totally understand it. But the partnership with Intiman says something major, and I've been able to really connect with Intiman as they've been bringing more productions out. And to be honest, it's another layer for me of them showcasing their intentionality to really spotlight stories that are reflective of our community. So I want to talk a bit with you about that partnership with Intiman and how that's really, cementing this body of work.
Yes, and it has been a wonderful ride in that Delbert mentioned that Jennifer Zile came to the reading at the Langston Hughes and she's like, we want to do this piece. And I think that goes because for her, it's born out of that intentionality, as you said, about making sure certain voices are heard in the arts and certain stories are told that may not be told otherwise. Yeah. And, excuse me, also giving new voices an opportunity. I'm an unknown entity. And for the Intiman to say, and we want to do this, and we're going to come beside you, and we're going to give what is necessary for this to be done, and so that the exposure and the information and that voice can be heard, has been really a good walk together. It's a good walk together. For me, being in spaces where you've got your production crew coming in and they're coming from their area, and you've got your costumer coming in and you've got your props coming in, and you see them bringing their best as evidence of their value for the work, right? It's been amazing. They have been amazing.
Yeah,
and they're intentional about it. So that has been really powerful for me, a powerful witness of walking what you talk. Because sometimes we hear the talk and the walk is a little slow. We got to crawl, not a walk. Intiman is walking with us through this.
For me, this is what I love is because it's an era that's happening. I'm experiencing this explosion of artistic expression and representation, whether it be directors, musical directors, costume designers, wig designers, choreographers, playwrights, that are coming from our community, because the brilliance it's not just like, oh, we accept it's like, oh my gosh, we need to be led by this brilliance. And I'm really appreciating that the Pacific Northwest is really starting to do that in a way that I can feel the impact. So I'm so grateful that your body of work is contributing to what I'm experiencing in that regard, and how I'm seeing the trajectory of this level of intentionality. I mean, from, Black ballet dancers to opera singers to, actors, actresses, like it's just a beautiful thing to really be able to be in the audience, and my young thespian self just jumps for joy, you know what I mean? So thank you so much for betting on yourself and going with that download you said, right? Like that it was coming to you, it was a deposit.
Yes.
Thank you for moving in that way so we can experience this work. Of course, you got to let folks know when the show is there, when they need to come and see it, how they see it. Look right there, let them know all the details.
This is a personal invitation for anyone and everyone to come and see The Lion Tells His Tale. Intiman.org. You can look for tickets. Our opening night is May 1st, 7:30 show. We will be back on Friday evening, 7:30. We have a matinee on Saturday the 4th at 2 o'clock, and then another 7:30 show. And then we will close out on Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock with a matinee. And there's a seat with your name on it. Make sure you fill it.
Mrs. Vida Sneed, thank you so much for being here today in the Black Media Matters studios. It's just a pleasure to be with you. I appreciate all the work you've been doing. And now I get to see that work on that stage. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Y'all, I'm telling you, I'm beaming over here. I'm beaming. I'm going to wrap all of this excitement up right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Africatown Plaza is our latest affordable housing development project. It's 126 units of affordable housing over community commercial space.
It's the first time in my career, and I've been doing this for 10 years, that I was able to design for people who look like me.
Africatown Plaza is a beacon of hope.
Africatown Plaza is a love letter to the community.
What's up, everybody? Trae Holiday here with a special announcement. Something sexy for the city is coming to our town, Tacoma Dome, May 3rd. You want to get your tickets today because you want to see Ashanti, Monica, Maya, Kiki Wyatt, and Anne Marie. Y'all, I have the pleasure of emceeing this phenomenal concert. Join me and get your tickets today for an epic performance from these R&B divas.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I mean it when I talk about a Thankful Thursday today. Huge shout out to my guest, Mr. Delbert Richardson, as I love him in the community way, like he talked about, my community uncle. And of course, Mrs. Vida Sneed. I mean, I have so much respect for their collaboration, and I can't wait to see it on that stage, Intiman Theatre. You heard all the details, but go to intiman.org, get your tickets today. The Lion Tells His Tale, guiding us through this experience that Mr. Delbert has been working on and pouring so much love into for so long. This is gonna be exciting for me because I'm just already jumping, but I want y'all to be jumping. Jump to get your tickets. Also, I want y'all to be inspired as much as I was by my guest here today. You know, there's always a level of inspiration that we're looking to bring on The Day with Trae. So I'm so grateful that my guest today brought that for me. And I'm hoping that what I'm experiencing is exuding out to all of y'all out there. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. For me, until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.